If you're of a certain age, you likely remember the experience of chasing the top spot on the high score leaderboard of your favorite arcade game. Just one more quarter and you might finally be able to dethrone the reigning king and enter your initials for all competitors to see and fear. Whatever happened to those high scores? Well, that's what I'm going to try to figure out right after this.
This video brought to you in part by Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. This exciting and heartwarming coming-of-age Gen X novel is available now. Check the link for more info.
Hey there, welcome back to Gen X Grown Up. I'm John, and I am a Gen X Grown Up. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video. You know, over the past few weeks, I've begun reviewing some of this year's new tabletop arcade toys, which can finally remember and preserve your high score in games like Pac-Man or Pole Position. Now, it's something that's been missing from the vast majority of these collectible products over the past few years. When a product saves scores, that's always a plus. And when it doesn't, I'm quick to point it out as an oversight. But why do we make such a big deal out of it? Why do high scores matter? Why did we start paying attention to them in the first place? And what happened in recent decades to make the high score largely irrelevant or an afterthought, both in modern games and recreations of our classics? Well, the concept of the high score for a game predates video games, as any pinball wizard can tell you, but the first appearance of the high score in an arcade game, as far as I can find, is Seawolf from way back in 1976. The game not only kept a running score for the current player, but also remembered and displayed the highest score achieved for as long as the machine is left running. Now, after its appearance there, most games started preserving a high score, but it wasn't until Exidy's Starfire in 1979 that you were offered the opportunity to enter your initials after obtaining a high score. This meant that if you did well enough, you could leave your name on the machine for others to see. So not only would other players be shooting to top the best score, but shooting to top your best score. If by chance you weren't there or don't understand why anyone would care to get that top score and enter their initials, let me try to hit on some of the reasons that high scores are important, or at least important to gamers of a certain age for classic games. I mean, if they weren't important, George Costanza would have never risked life and limb to preserve that Frogger cabinet. Now, arcade games are designed to take your quarter, give you about 3 minutes of entertainment, and then kill you off quickly so you'll insert another quarter. Now, as we got better and better at our favorite games, it was a matter of pride to see just how long we could last and how many points we could score for that same quarter. Your score then is a reflection of your skill and mastery over a game. In an effort to improve, you would learn over time which gameplay techniques yielded the best score. In what order should I shoot these aliens? Should I double back and try to pick up the bonus item for more points, or will it cost too many seconds off the bonus timer? We'd test our scoring hypotheses, and the net yield of our experimentation was more points and a higher score. In this battle of man versus machine, we know the machine is eventually going to win, but our score was a measure of how well we did in that battle. Your high score, especially if it was accompanied by your initials, allowed both friends and strangers to compete not only against the machine, but against one another. If you had a better score than your best friend, well, you had undeniable bragging rights that would bring you joy, but also motivate your friend to try to come back over the top on his next play. Even if, as was often the case, the leaderboard got reset every night when the machines were turned off, that was just a new day and a clean slate to try again. Without high scores, Centauri would never have found or recruited Alex Rogan. Even with the rise of home video game consoles, high scores continued to be something worth pursuing, though. We'd take Polaroids of our score on the tube TV and mail it to magazines who would publish leaderboards, or off to Activision, who would send us a collectible patch in recognition of our accomplishments. Even today, Twin Galaxies continues to maintain a global leaderboard of high scores for games spanning the decades. For a time, the pursuit of the high score was as much a part of video gaming as the screen and the joystick. So, what happened? Now, this is not to say that keeping score and remembering the high score is entirely gone from video games. Well, there are plenty of titles that display and remember scores, but even more that don't even have a score at all. What's your best score in BioShock or Minecraft or Overwatch? Games have evolved. With the increased complexity, fidelity, and size of games today, scoring is no longer as necessary to measure progress or aptitude. For huge adventure games, it's about finishing the story and getting the good ending, not amassing points. For team combat games, it's about improving your rank and stats, not amassing points. Online multiplayer games, especially first-person shooters, real-time strategies, and RPGs, often have ranking systems. Now, these new systems often are more complex than conventional high score lists. Some are based on tournaments, while others track game servers continuously, maintaining statistics for all players in real time. But the fading of high scores happened gradually. Even games where scoring is irrelevant still have them. For a time in college, I was a Street Fighter II addict with a $5 a day habit. And I can still remember one day in the arcade when I was playing by myself, and I finally made the realization that SF2 was keeping score. How many points is a fireball or a dragon punch? I had no idea. In fact, I still don't have any idea. Even for a fighting game of its era, Street Fighter II continued to hang on to the concept of a high score, even for a game where the score is entirely irrelevant. So it makes sense that the very concept of a high score would start to fade from prominence among gamers. But its importance is not forgotten, especially among those of us who grew up during the rise of video games. So when we see a handheld version of an arcade classic like Galaga or Space Invaders, and it doesn't respect the importance of remembering the high scores, it matters to us. It tells us that you know these games are meaningful, but you don't understand the emotions and experiences associated with them that make them so meaningful. So as part of the old guard, I will continue to advocate for the preservation of high scores in products that leverage and repackage the games that once sucked the quarters out of our pockets. What are your memories of chasing down high scores? Do you have one you're particularly proud of? And maybe more importantly, what was your signature 3-letter initials you'd use to brand your leaderboard accomplishments? Please let me know down in the comments. Of course, I will place links here and here to some other videos I've recently produced. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.